One of the big mistakes people are making is they're treating this purely as an efficiency play. Let's do what we were doing today, but faster and cheaper. I think that that's the wrong way to look at it.
Dawid Naude, Pathfindr, you're the CEO, you're the co-founder. Let's just briefly, before we dive into the meat part of this conversation, what does Pathfindr exist to do?
Yeah, 100%. So our core mission is we really believe that AI is a force for good, 100%. And we think that this is just a fantastic technology, but it's a strange technology. And so a core part of what we do is just we love the tech and we love people and we love seeing people use the tech and blown away by it. But we measure ourselves with broad adoption and results within businesses. And what we seek to do is work with companies, and then at the end of it, people are saying, wow, I'm so much more productive. I'm having so much fun. I was completely underestimating this technology. And we hope that those things will allow companies to start reimagining what's possible. Because one of the big mistakes people are making is they're treating this purely as an efficiency play. Let's do what we were doing today, but faster and cheaper. I think that that's the wrong way to look at it. Do those things, but treat that as a box ticking exercise. If you were to get 60, 70, 80% of your time back in the day, what would you fill it with? You need to fill it with new things. You need to fill it with new markets, new products, new experiments. This is not this is very different. It's not just it's not just about replicating something much cheaper and faster. You want to use it for actual innovation.
And you and I were talking before about how important it is to get the leadership across this. How has that been as a journey with some of your customers? Where are you seeing the opportunities, and why should leaders be AI savvy?
Yeah, so it's a huge problem, and I'd say up until relatively recently, we were complicit in the problem. So when somebody would say, hey, no idea how to get started with AI, we would come and do the typical thing and dive in and let's figure out the use cases and opportunities, come back with a PowerPoint pack and all of that type of thing. And this is an intelligence tool. It's not, it's very different. And surely, the number one thing that AI could do for leaders is tell leaders how to use AI. Surely you'd think that that is the first thing that AI would be good at, is say, hey, I'm a CFO, I'm a chief digital officer working at this major telco. I got no clue what AI is or how to use it. Help me out here. And I know it sounds so silly, but we were as complicit as the whole industry that we would say, no, we're going to figure out how you should use AI, and then we're going to come and tell you that. And so now our whole messaging has really changed. And we're not even talking about AI. What we're saying is the starting point for every company has to be your leadership team. Makes sense, of course, they're leaders. But what if your leadership team was just smarter, way more capable? They were just more intelligent and way more performant. What impact would that have to your whole business if you were making better decisions? And one of the biggest decisions they need to make right now is what I do with AI. And so what a fantastic opportunity to be kind of meta with it and say, you guys have no clue what to do about AI. People don't even know what AI is, your leadership team. The first thing all of you should do is put AirPods in, put the ChatGPT app on your phone, go for a walk, put it on voice mode, and say, this is what I do. This is my role. I know nothing about AI. Can we just have a chat? And I want to help you. You need to teach me what AI is.
So if I put myself in the CFO's shoes, as the example that you use, I would be thinking in the back of my mind, okay, I'm asking ChatGPT or Anthropic or a software which I have to maybe pay a subscription to while there's a free tier about how I can use it. Isn't there an incentive for these AI tools to sell themselves? And wouldn't this be something the leadership is cognizant of?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Not many people, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that angle. The incentives of these things. So the first thing is, so this is no different to any other tech in the sense that if it's free, it's not free. It may be financially free, but you're giving up data to pay for it. The reason why Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram are all free financially is because you're paying with it for your data so that advertisers can advertise to you. AI is really no different. So if you think of something like ChatGPT, the free version, you are giving up your data so that it can be trained on to improve the model for paying customers. And it doesn't mean that if you use it now and let's say you use it to help prepare a tax return or something like that, it doesn't mean that like tomorrow I can ask you what your annual salary was and it's going to tell me. It's not going to do that. It goes through a very complicated washing process to scrub all PI information and all of that. But who wants to take that risk if you don't need to? So you can opt out of training the free model, but I shut down those conversations quite quickly going, guys, this is a tool worth paying for. Like if you have access to one of the most super intelligent, capable technologies that we've ever had that costs you about the same as like a chicken parma. Like, what? Like, come on. this is worth paying for. One is going to give you like gastro, and the other one is actually going to make you way better and smarter and more intelligent. As soon as you're paying a commercial license, you're protected. It has GDPR, it has SOC 2, CERT 2, it has all of these things. Now, the role of ads in AI is definitely, and incentives, like if I were to ask, let's take Adapt. Our company has grown to a certain size. We're thinking of putting on an event or sponsoring an event or partnering for an event. What do you recommend? Okay, so at the moment, it is completely objective. But there's a whole new field called answer engine optimization. It's a term that I just found yesterday. I've been wondering, what are we going to call this field? And somebody's finally kind of coined it, and I think it's going to hang around for now. Instead of search engine optimization, answer engine optimization. How do I make sure that you guys would want Adapt to be recommended as the preferred option there? And for those incentives to be aligned properly without you being able to pay a ChatGPT or a Claude to be prioritized. So at the moment, it's all still like that. Of course, there's going to be blunders, like 100%. Like there's going to be blunders in the next 10 years where people are going to promise one thing and we realize it's very different. I mean, just even think of Facebook and Meta. Like 2008, everybody gave their data up, myself included, just so willingly. We trusted big tech. Like, I think somebody who's like mid-20s now would just be blown away that we used to just trust big tech. Like, we just like go, like Facebook, have all my data. Like,
have what I had for lunch, where I am, my city, who my partner is. Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, we didn't use the data correctly. Yeah, we didn't again. Yeah, we didn't again. And now it's like really concerning. And that's why we have this attitude towards AI as well. So there is definitely cause for being conservative. But it's just about, I think the word I like to use is deliberate. Like, just be deliberate on what you're trying to do. If you're deliberate, then you can get clear on what's stopping you from making a decision. And often you just don't have simple answers to simple questions. What happens to my data? Does it train the model? Where's my data house? Like, nobody's had a moment to even take a breath to answer these questions because people typically still have day jobs that they're trying to keep systems and things up and running. So yeah.
Yeah, and here's one of the interesting things about these models and how we approach AI as a technology. I want your opinion on this. Typically, we've viewed scale in terms of the amount of users, the amount of use cases, and we've said full scale, really good. But having an AI system that's really good at marketing intelligence or segmentation, it doesn't make sense to scale that across to financial services, you know, or the accounting department. How do you see this concept of scale changing with AI?
Yeah, it's different. So you can, in some ways, talk about it as general AI and then narrow AI. So, and the general AI is actually far closer to a human being. So there's a whole lot of things that you're not, that you've never been trained on, or that you're not an expert at, but that you're probably quite good at. Like if you've probably, like maybe you are great at throwing dinner parties, but let's say you've never done that before.
You have to ask my marketing coordinator, Justina. I throw a mean dinner party, don't you worry.
Okay, what about doing all of your friends' tax returns for you? Are you good at that as well?
No.
But you could probably do it, right? Like you could probably get a tax return done for your colleagues. You probably could.
Yeah.
Now, like technology, I can't make like these cameras that are recording that now. I can't turn, no matter how much I want, that thing is not going to turn into like a 50, that's not going to turn into a Nintendo Switch. Like it's not, it hasn't been built to be a Nintendo Switch.
You sure it's not a transformer?
Yeah,
secretly?
it could be, and maybe that's where it's going. But that's how different AI is to any other technology.
Yeah.
Like 99% of the ways that you use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, nobody in San Francisco has ever built it to do those things. And so that's where it's a very strange technology. And what we're saying is every person needs an assistant. Now, we say 3 assistants, which is you need an assistant, which is kind of like a graduate level person who can crunch numbers, like do types of graduate level things. You need a thinker, somebody who's highly experienced, read every book in that field about it, can critically think, and then you need a creator, so somebody who can do image, video, audio, things like that. Now, those are all kind of the same thing, like it's a general AI assistant that can do these things. Now, every person, you want to be able to give the best of those 3 to every single person. And it's also what we say to people, if you're deciding what AI tool should be a general assistant, you need to think about how intelligent do you want that general assistant to be. Because there's been an over-indexing on saying we already use this platform for our other stuff in our company, so we're just going to use whatever product they recommend. I mean, that's like saying we're only going to ever recruit from the same school. Like, why would
like
you do that?
Suits and Harvard Law School.
Exactly, except it's not like Harvard. It's like our first candidate came from that area, so now we're only ever going to hire from that area. It's like, okay, but I think there's Harvards out there. There's actually other areas. I have thought about that suit analogy before. But so that's a general AI assistant, and then you have a narrow AI application. Now, this is where it's more, often it's called like invisible AI. So if it's a marketing personalization engine, you only know about it when it fails. Like, ideally, it's just like working all the time, it's self-improving, etc. But that marketing personalization engine, it's very important. It's very narrow. It's optimized for one particular use case. Now, and the goal, like the reward for getting that use case and the accuracy right, is massive. We say that the best place to start is still with a general AI assistant. So let's say you're an agriculture company. You're growing olives. And maybe the ability to predict olive health early can make an incredible change to your business. Now, to get that highly accurate could be very challenging. But a way you can test it early on is somebody can go into an olive field and take a photo with ChatGPT and ask, how healthy is this olive? And if it's like 85% right, or even directionally correct, that's a huge clue that the technology can do it. And now you take that and you now start turning it narrow, because the prize to go from 80% accurate to 95% accurate is worth the journey and all of the additional effort. You think of, if we're 80% of the right time correct at predicting olive decay early compared to 95% right, like the gap is like, I mean, that could save your whole company, right? So general and narrow, we think, is a fantastic way to think about it. But we always say just start with general, because you can kind of test if the technology can do it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we hear about with the general AI, and this is an indication of the technology, so to speak, and it feeds into what you're talking about with leadership being AI savvy, is often the CIO or the CDO will go to the board and the board will say, well, what's the return on investment? And if people are using ChatGPT to write their emails better or generate images or summarize notes, the quantifiable aspects that the board generally likes, these hard metrics, are hard to come by. How do you position that in a business setting?
Yeah, definitely. So it usually boils back down to this architecture of like leaders first. So let's say your leaders use this and they realize, like a leader, and this is a challenge that every individual has, like 80% of the things that we do probably aren't really going to make that much of a difference during the day. But there's 20% of the things that we do in each day that do make a massive difference, that Pareto principle, 80-20. It's the same then, so your leaders need to first figure out what are the metrics we seek to move, or what's the risk that we seek to mitigate. If you're in a professional services industry at the moment, accounting, legal, financial advice, recruitment, consulting, one of the massive things that AI has done is you can turn services to software. Those industries, if they're approaching it about efficiency, they're completely they're completely missing the mark. They need to approach this to complete business model reinvention because their whole industry is under threat. Like, somebody who's graduating now is not going to a financial planner in the future. If they do, it's because they trust the financial planner, because it's rapport, it's not expertise. So why compete? Why say, oh, we're more accurate, we predict better? It's like, yeah, sure, but for how long? Like, compete with something that you can compete with, which is like rapport or something like that. But that's a risk mitigation thing. You've got to kind of reinvent and all of that. So if you're a leader, you might go, we want to enter new markets. What will make a huge difference? Like, it's not reducing headcount. It's not reducing service standards like a little bit, or it might be we want to grow, we want to enter these new markets, we've been trying to get in for ages. How do we do that? So that's the first thing. You've got big, important goals to chase. So it's really important to understand, because many problems just aren't worth solving.
Yeah.
Then the second thing is, like, a leader is not actually in as much of the detail as they think they are. They actually don't know what's involved day to day. But there are groups of people who do, that both are operational and hands-on, but also like strategic. Like, they can think bigger picture. They're keen, they're innovative, they're influential, they're willing. We call those champions. And the next level is you find a group of champions, and each leader nominates one or two. And then you say, hey, we're going to go figure out how we're going to enter new markets using AI. So instead of like, let's just generally see what AI can do, you're being deliberate on what matters. That group of champions needs to then go start testing, start with a general tool. Like, well, some of these markets don't speak English as a first language. How well do these models translate? Copy paste into chat. Excellent. Well, what if we also did audio and we translate? Let's try it. Like, so we see that that's really important. Now you can get to go back to a board saying, our first experiment showed that when we did a set of newsletters in 4 different languages, those newsletters had an open rate of 40%. Like, this has cost you like nothing to try. Now, of course, there's copy paste, all of that. But it's a cheap experiment, and I'll go back to your board. So there's a way through this group where you figure this out. Now, one of the absolute foolish mistakes that I just call it AI theater, that I think many companies are guilty of, is they're solving problems not worth solving, or they're measuring AI on things just simply don't matter. And the most common one is, we use Copilot. It does a great job at transcribing and summarizing meetings. The meeting didn't need to happen in the first place. Like the best thing, the best outcome for AI there was that it was not required. And by the way, nobody reads the summaries. Nobody reads meeting minutes. Like, it's one of those things that make people feel good that it exists, but they never use it. So that's where you can fool yourself that, we're all in on AI. Even in a call center setting, we've got it doing all these things in the call center for us, but why are customers needing to call the call center? Like, solve the root cause. There's a reason no customer wants to call a call center. Like, I don't want it in the first place. So it's very important to kind of be realistic and look at this. And again, it starts with a leadership team, like, just being excited to be using this every day.
Yeah. One of the big opportunities that I see is if we're rolling out digital products, normally you have a product leader, they meet with a developer, they develop a wireframe, they come back, they discuss and move forward. You get to that minimal viable product straight around those people. But now what happens to all those jobs, all those roles? They're probably going to change, they're going to evolve. But how powerful is it now going to some of these models that can go, hey, this is a dummy version of your app. It's got no security, but it's got some interaction, for you to take to the rest of the business.
It's what I showed this morning at the keynote. So I took Qantas. Qantas is a great example because people know the brand, but they're public. So like, it's easier to demo because all the data is publicly listed. But I showed kind of how you could mock up an AI concierge app. First, like an AI travel assistant app. First, like, researching, should I do this? And like, it blew even me away. That's what I love about this technology. And I think that's one fundamental mindset every leader has to have, is that you don't know anything about AI, because I don't know anything about AI, and I do it as a full-time job all day, every day. And I still get blown away every day by these things. And so I said, look, I work for Qantas and I'm thinking of launching an AI travel app. Is this a good idea? And went and did a whole lot of research, came back with incredible data. And then I was like, okay, let's mock up using all of our data, our frequent flyer data. Can you mock up what an app experience would look like for a customer? And it was just amazing, like how good it was. And on there, I touched like what is every company's moat with AI is you've probably got a whole lot of data that isn't being well used. And that could just be unreal in terms of a value proposition. And that's kind of what I try to bring to life.